For 17 years, the Quantaform company has been using bioresonance devices, mainly the LIFE system. These devices allow us to treat a person, in presence, by putting a harness around his head, as I will show you a little later. We can also treat at distance, or by distance, or remotely, with radionic waves and scalar waves. When you open your LIFE system, you have here continue. You have a preset code to put in here, so the one. That's it, it's registered. You click on New. We create the client's file. Now, we're going to enter the surname, the first name, the type, whether it's a man or a woman. We also deal with male or female animals and plants. This is a woman. When we want to process at distance, we put as much information as possible. Here, we need the date of birth. She was born in Nancy and the time when we can. Here it's 7 p.m. If the person is not sure of the time, we put 12 hours on average. Antibes, we record, we launch the test. We can see, to say how we're going to work, if we work remotely. The question is when we work by distance. In this case, we put a photo. As we're going to work face to face with the harness, we put it on. Then we'll put some music on. You can add your own music. It will be played frequently in relation to what we are treating. We've chosen the harness, so I'm going to put the harness on. These are electromagnetic waves. You also have colored LEDs because each color has its own frequency. So, the heart is always on the left side, on the heart side. The best thing is to take a good medical history and ask the person a few questions. Madam, I think your neck hurts, right? It's a stiff neck. We'll do a full workup. I'm going back to the reactivity test. In well-being. And now, we'll do X. When we do the potential test, we see that there are neck problems. It corresponds to your problem and to a thyroid problem, according to what you told me. You also had problems on that side. Your immune system is quite low and your heart problems. We can already treat this from here with the harness. We can also put the VU-meter on and see if the person is receptive, when they are not receptive enough. Here, this person is quite receptive, but we can also put in alpha waves through the brain. There, he's going to make us in automatic the red, yellow and blue, which are the highest, and after the immune system. In terms of rectification, for each point, each color, it will give us a rectification value. Here, we need to be at 85 so that the body is well aware of the information. We get 22. We'll run it several times until we get 85 everywhere. This is really reinformation at the level of the cells. And in the reactivity test, we also have algorithms that will be able to define probabilities between 1 year and 15 years. We are in the preventive and at the same time in the curative. So the cervical vertebra is already at 88, which is good. Afterwards, we will go and see the cervical vertebrae. We will be able to see the dermatomes. So, the liver manages everything that is muscles, tendons and ligaments in Chinese medicine. And all of this is related to anger. Are you sleeping well, ma'am? Yes, yes. No night wakings? No, no. In general, we can wake up between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. That corresponds to the liver and the gallbladder. And when you wake up between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning, that's the lungs. Here, it's more like sadness and anxiety. Once you're done, you press green, the lowest system, and launch. The advantage of the LIFE system is that you can treat from a distance. At the beginning, I was talking about the speed of the light, so 300,000 kilometers per second, so 10,000 kilometers were fractions of a second. But it's actually intricacy. When you separate two cells, they're still connected. There have been 3 Nobel Prizes recently on quantum entanglement. A lot of people are asking the question, is it better face-to-face or remote? Remote, in metatherapy, it allows people not to have any blockages. It also works on animals, plants, babies, etc. Scalar and radionic waves. These are vortex-like waves that can pass any distance of concrete. So the immune system was certainly lower because we're at number 2. It took a little longer to get back up. 72. So we'll go up to 85. we're going to move on to another program. Susceptibilities, which also allows us to do a potential test, even if the person comes without any particular problem. This will allow us to do a checkup on all the possible problems. In the LIFE system, you have 36 programs. Then, we are going to do a checkup on 7,000 items and there. The device sends 55,000 information per second on 7,000 points in 6 minutes. There, it tells us about toxicity hormones and miasmas. We note it down so that we can then have leads to be able to do treatments. I go back to the wellness. I'm doing a reactivity test and now we're going to start the evaluation. He suggests that we calibrate the device in relation to the person's state of stress. By launching the first green bar, it is the spiritual. The second is the emotional and the third is the physical. Then we can launch the global reactivity test. This allows us to calibrate as if we were tear a scale. Apparently, there's a lot of emotion involved. This is the last one to arrive. Reactivity test. Evaluate. Now, it's going to take about 6 minutes to analyze 7,000 points because they send 55,000 pieces of information per second. From there, you have everything homeopathic. You have the meridians, you have the bacteria, you have everything circulatory, you have the Bach flowers, and then you can even make your own library at the bottom right. I will show you how to enter frequencies into the LIFE system. For the demonstration, we're going to speed up the process a little bit, so you can see more programs. What's great is to take a good medical history and then ask the person some questions about their weight, their height, whether they're drinking enough and so on. In winter, people should drink at least 3% of their weight without sweating. This is very important to hydrate the body and for the intervertebral discs, because when there are back problems it is often a problem of lack of hydration in the intervertebral discs and therefore it will jam the nerves. This is what acts as a shock absorber. It's the principle of a sponge that you use in your kitchen. It's the same. So moisturizing is absolutely imperative. The good thing is that the LIFE system takes into account the whole emotional part. I am in favor of both medicines. When you have a hemorrhage or break a leg, you obviously have to go and see a doctor. But afterwards, the emotional part is not really their thing. And that's why it's important to treat the causes and not just the symptom. So, we haven't done all 7,000. But we have about 6,900. Are you all right, madam? How long have you had neck pain? 3 days. We have the endorphin system as well. We'll be able to treat the vertebrae, treat the dermatome. In the sport and injury program, we have the endorphins, which are the body's morphine but which will be produced naturally. Now, we are coming to the end of the 7,000 item review. So, as I was saying earlier, everything that is muscles, tendons and ligaments in Chinese medicine is the liver, and we can see that the liver is also present there. So, a person who comes to see you for a knee, an elbow, a tendinitis, it is absolutely necessary to go and see the liver and treat the emotion that goes with it and the anger. Here, I check the liver for example. We get 99. Here, it goes from 0 to 100. We are in an inflammatory state. Between 0 and 40, it's insufficiency. Between 40 and 70, it's the right balance. And between 70 and 100, it's more like inflammatory states. So, we're going to process it. So, we make a harness space and after 1 minute, it will give us the rectification value. Always the same principle. To have 85% of rebalancing. These assessments are incredibly accurate. Generally, a person who comes with crutches for sciatica leaves without his crutches. It sounds miraculous, but in fact it's computer science. It's ones and zeros. Now, we're at 37. So we have to continue. You can have done a first minute and you can also do 5 seconds on automatic. So, it's not only 5 seconds. It will do 5 seconds several times until it reaches at least 85. It's 38. So it'll scroll several times. 60. 63, 94. You see it stops. Then, we'll look for what we could look at. Otherwise, we can also mark torticollis in the search area. Now, we'll sort it out. No. Here, we have a red line. The important thing is to check the items. That's it. This one is at 3. so we'll have to process it. I can do 5 seconds on automatic. The bladder is a couple with the liver. 56, 79. Just don't mix the two. On one side, at the bottom left, there is the imbalance, and on the top right, there is the rebalancing. It's the rectified percentage, which must always be at least 85 from 85. We are at 97, so the body has heard the information. We can then go a little bit further. Dystonia. Now, we're on contractions, so 28. We're under 42, so we need to treat. You have an encyclopedia that explains everything down here, where there are 1,220,000 words, in total. Here, you have the explanation of dystonia, which affects all cervical muscles, dystonia and torticollis. As soon as the search word, torticollis, is found, it will give us all the treatment options. If you have an overweight problem, we write, obesity. If it's a diabetes problem, it says, diabetes. It gives you a whole list plus the protocols that we provide with the device and that we share on the club as regularly. Then, we have everything that is lymphatic. We can treat the eyes. We can really treat everything. 80. That's not too bad. We'll continue with our 5 seconds. If the person had sleep problems, we could have marked sleep in the search field. If there's snoring or sleep apnea, you put in the search word and you get the immediate treatment. Here, I'm going to go out and go back to well-being. Here, we'll go to spinal. It's in the well-being programs. We do a potential test. It will give us the 4 most unbalanced vertebrae, and then we can go to the dermatomes to treat the whole area of the dermis and the nerves. This normally brings immediate relief, and then we move on to the sport and injuries program for all the endorphins and inflammations. Here, he gave us the 3rd cervical. The 2nd dorsal gives us lumbar values. Here, the 1st lumbar, and we have the cranial, which also corresponds with the cervicals. Now, we start the treatment. We can also use the VU-meter to see if the person is receptive. There, apparently this person is receptive. In case the person is not receptive enough, we can go through the brain program and put the person in alpha waves, which will relax the person to be able to respond better to the treatments. On a pain scale of 1 to 10, how high was it today?
Good. Now, it was at 8.
We'll see after the session. I'll come back a second time. Do you also have tension in your jaw?
No, I don't think so.
When you press on the side?
No, I don't think so.
Now, we're at 100%, so we're going into the dermatomes. Just press down here and you can see the path of the cervicals. Do you also have pain in your arms?
Sometimes yes. I feel like it's starting to hurt in my left arm.
We saw that it was C3, for example, so we can already treat that area. You can see behind where it passes and in front where it passes as well. This is really the problem of torticollis, and we can see the discs here, the white intervertebral discs. It's here that they need to be well hydrated. If it's not hydrated enough, it'll pinch your nerves and cause you pain. And if they get too tight, the vertebrae will slip and it will create a herniated disc. That's why it's very important to drink enough. I remind you that it is 3% of your weight. Someone who weighs 60 kilos is drinking 1.8 liters a day, in winter, without sweating. 12. So the person really needs it. We continue, we boost. We have a number 85, which means that the body has not heard the information sufficiently. Then, we can also do the C6 because it is the one where there are the trapezius muscles behind. And when we have sciatica, in general, it's L4, L5, S1. We see the pain, how it goes in the front and in the back, how it can go in the buttocks, here, and how far it can go down, to the foot. And this is something that is easily removed with the LIFE system. In general, we always do at least 1 session like that. We already have results. But then we have to do 3 or 4 sessions at 15-21st day intervals. 21 days is only for major pathologies such as cancer or multiple sclerosis. But afterwards, when it's for well-being or pain, you can do it even once a week. It's not embarrassing. Afterwards, in our manual, you will see that each vertebra is linked to emotions and organs, so it is important to also look at what it corresponds to at the level of the emotion. In the LIFE system, we have all the emotions. So this charge is to be removed as well, and we will also be able to give you ages where there has been stress since birth, including in the uterine period. 49. We continue. What's interesting to observe also is when you do this with blind people, they don't see the screen. However, because they have a greater sense of feeling, they know which organ you are on. And on animals, it's the same. It's even faster because there is no emotional barrier at all. There is emotion but not the same mental barrier. 62. We continue. We will also be able to regulate the two hemispheres. After that, we still have to treat the inflammation and the pain with endorphins. As these are tendon and ligament problems, we will have to treat the liver. At the level of emotions, we will have to treat the anger, conscious or unconscious. In general, in 3, 4, 5 sessions maximum, we manage to get our 85%. What is very good is that the person leaves without pain and that she really gets a result from the first session, which will encourage her to come back. The key is not to deal with too many issues. With a good medical history, we can treat mainly the causes that bother the person the most and prioritize them. In any case, if there is a sleep problem, it has to be seen with the other problems. If you treat the hormones, you have to do the same. You shouldn't try to do it all. One session, in general, is 1H30 maximum. After that, it's 50, 60, 70 parameters or items.
From what age can children be treated?
From birth. During the session, the child can be sitting on the mother's lap. In osteopathy it's the same. It's interesting to be able to treat children from birth. Here, we have reached 100%. It's perfect. We'll go back to wellness. We'll go to the sport and injury program. We'll check off inflammation, infection, degeneration, pain, and then we'll go on. Here we have endorphin on number 5 and we go to harness. This will take away the pain. We also have quick programs for all shocks, contusions, dislocations, fractures, frostbites, etc. Everything that has cramps is the same. It always comes from liver problems. We also have programs for nerve trauma, lacerations, sprains, overwork, surgery, etc. It is also interesting for surgeons, before and after an operation, to prepare the person with arnica for stress, and we can also, afterwards, work on the hematomas to avoid having them. Some plastic surgeons also use it. You can avoid bleeding during the operation and have a better recovery. It's also used a lot for sports people. It can be used for mental preparation for and during competitions. We can also prepare them physically before and during the competition. We can also work on the oxygenation of the brain, everything related to pain and endorphins. We can really prepare them mentally to be winners. Muscular preparation is relatively easy for everyone, but here it allows you to overcome things. Otherwise, for people who do not practice too much sport, we also have a muscle program. Here, we can muscle people for atrophy, restore muscle tone, or for the relaxation of muscle pain. We will go over all this after the programs, so that you will have a small idea of this type of program. The user manual is available and can be sent to you with all the screen pages. Let's continue. It's the same here. There's a strong need. Otherwise it goes up to 85 from the first minute. That's when we see the real need. 85 is good. The body has heard the information. We can press the stop function. We come back to the well-being theme. Now, we can do the reactivity test. We didn't do it at first. Look at brain. There, we can balance the two hemispheres. We can also treat hyperactive children. Then, we work on concentration and learning, so we'll do balance tests. The left part of the brain is the mental part and the right part is the emotional part. This will allow us to restore the two hemispheres so that there is no struggle between the two brains. Here, there is a lot of mental in the left parietal, a lot of emotional in the frontal. In order to avoid this, we balance the two hemispheres. This is relatively quick and very important. If the person, for example, has sleeping problems, we press anatomical, and we have the reticular activation system. Initially, all this is present in the protocols. But otherwise, when you search for sleep, the reticular activation system comes out automatically. When people have lost their sense of smell, we can work either on memory or on the limbic. We will work on the amygdala, the hippocampus, the limbic lobe, on sex, anger, fears, emotions, integration of recent memory and biological rhythm. And you have on the hypothalamus, loss of sense of smell, agitation, loss of emotional control and loss of memory. Here, we also have everything that is acupuncture. Here, we have alternating images. Then we do the systems test and next to it, you have the points test in column. See if you have points in the protocols that we give you. Use the points and send them directly. We have a new tool called Beauty for LIFE. With the help of a stylus, you can directly treat the points, both for pain and for everything related to aesthetics. We also have an anti-aging program, which I will talk about later, which allows us to treat telomeres, collagen and elastin. Here, the points give us priority to the gallbladder, the heart meridian, the spleen and the triple heater. Here, same thing, we use the harness. When you have indications in the extremities, it means that you are quite cold or hot.
Oh yes. Cold feet.
This confirms the triple heater. This is what regulates the three dimensions, upper, middle and lower. So, it's the thermostat of the body. By adjusting the triple heater, it allows us to have a better body temperature. We can also work on the circulation, the drainage. This is very important in terms of body temperature. We can even work on Raynaud's syndrome. For people with cold extremities, we also have a program to treat them. Like before, the device makes us in automatic mode, red, yellow and blue. Red is the highest up and green the lowest. Here, automatically, it makes us red, yellow and blue. Then, we will make separately the triple heater which was the lowest point and which corresponds to the fact that the person was cold, therefore to his extremities. It is the same thing when we have problems with a person whose extremities are too hot. You can also work on this triple warmer.
I have a question. The fact that it's between 40 and 70 and since the number 82 is higher, does that still mean that the number is relatively balanced? Or does it mean that it's still something that needs to be worked on?
I do the three colors first. Afterwards, it's the LIFE system proposal. The therapist is also there to guide you and to go and do other points if necessary. Now, we have 94, so that's good. Then we launch the triple heater and after that it doesn't prevent the therapist from going to investigate, in addition, where he wants in the software. There, I saw the liver meridian. We are on 10, the small intestine. That's the indication. As we know that there is a problem with tendons, with muscular tension, it is absolutely necessary to do the liver and then treat the emotion that is related to this, that is anger. In Chinese medicine, we say that the liver manages everything that is muscles, tendons and ligaments. And the eyes are also the gateway to the liver. It is also said that anger blinds. The old people used to make sense when they said, "I'm fed up with it, I'm worried about it," and so on. It just made sense. Now, the triple heater is up to 89, so that's good. Now, I'll do the liver harness. What's important is to decode all the emotions as well, because as each emotion is linked to our organs. You have books like those of Jacques Martel which allow you to see that all emotions are linked to each organ of the human body. In the manual, we also have a spine that shows the relationship between organs and emotions. We also have the organs that are connected to the teeth. 90. That's good. We can change the program and see the hormones, for example. We have a part to treat men or women. We do the test for women. This shows us the 4 most unbalanced hormones. Then, it's up to the therapist to go further, where he wants. It is not a closed system. What it will give us is priority over the adrenals. The kidneys, you have the LH. What's interesting is that each time, for each hormone, we have the explanation. It tells us red, yellow and blue. Then we can treat, for example, the pineal, stimulate dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. For depression, we treat the serotonin but without the appetite regulator. If there are thyroid problems, we write thyroid. If we find relaxin, a hormone that manages the pelvic muscle ligament, we can also treat the perineum for bladder weakness. 85. That's good. Here, for pineal calcification, we can stimulate the pineal. This is the conductor of the glands that calcify. It is located at the level of the third eye, here and there. 49. We continue to 85. I'm going to go over the programs. We saw that there was acupuncture. In the wellness area, you then have everything that is allergies. In this case, we have the allergens. Here, we can, for example, add hairs to be able to do the test. When we treat, we don't just treat the allergy part. We're also going to reduce histamines, release emotions, relieve inflammation, crying, rhinitis, sneezing, stimulate the adrenals, and everything that's liver. So, we have really good results. And then the icing on the cake is the anti-aging program. This is the test for everything that is anti-aging. We can work on collagen, elastin and telomeres. As a priority, if there is a lack of sleep, the program will give us melatonin. If there is a lack of libido, it will be DHEA. So we can stimulate all these hormones. Telomeres are what we have at the end of the chromosomes on the X's that are shortening. People who take telomerase. It's very expensive, but it's also carcinogenic. But here we can work directly and only with the frequency. Here, the program indicates the parathyroid, collagen, growth hormones and free radicals. So we can treat this. I am not going to finish all the treatments. I will fly over all the programs so that you can have an overall knowledge of the system. Then, you have all the bones. There, we have all the bone regeneration of the bone spines. Then, you can also treat arthrosis. In Germany, they did double-blind clinical tests on arthrosis of the hips and knees. They obtained C2A medical certification. They did clinical tests on 50 people who were treated with a placebo and 50 who were not. On the 50 people who were treated, the cartilage grows back. Here, you have all these programs. Everything that is chrono-specific including arthrosis. Everything that is blood circulation. You also have shortcuts. For example, the eyes. Here, you have the program for the eyes and the ears. Here, you can treat inflammation, macular degeneration, cataracts, glaucoma, ear infections, etc. Since I've been treated here, I wear glasses when it's small print, but when it's normal print, I read without glasses. Here, you have the brain. You have all the chromosomes. You can also do a search. For example, if you write commissure, then search, you get commissure 1 and commissure 2. One is what we have, the barcodes in the lips. We can process them directly from here. Then, circulatory, you've got all the programs so we can always do a test. And for aneurysms, reducing inflammation. Here, you have the whole list. Then, there is colors and chakras. This one, we're not just going to go over it, we're going to show it to you. You have seen that Mr. Masaru Emoto worked on colors, music and intentions. Here, we can see the color that corresponds to the person at the time. The person could wear it as a scarf, as underwear or put it under his water bottle to inform his name. Then, we can do the chakra test. Then, we'll go over the aura. It's a very complete program. The training is provided face-to-face by Nelda over 4 half-days. We also have training sessions every Monday and Wednesday on Zoom. We also do congresses and master classes. Here, we have the crown, the throat, the heart and the sacred. These are the biggest imbalances. We will now do the aura test and then we can rebalance the chakras. These are energy centers that run through the body. We can balance it with that. We can balance them with Tibetan bowls. Clients like to take pictures of their aura. We suggest that they use their phone to do this. What color is your aura going to be, madam?
Oh, it's a big surprise.
Yellow. Then, you have the orange and yellow information. It's quite regular because it's well balanced on both sides. Here, we have the color information. If we look for orange is creativity, enjoyment, a person who likes a challenge, positive, productive, creative, adventurous and good at business. That was for the orange and we have the yellow. Playful, sunny, creative, funny, loves to study, light, active, artistic, optimistic, warm, charming and easygoing.
That's just like me.
Your husband is lucky.
Yes.
So it's true. It's really a reality.
I'm validating.
So, we can do the chakra treatment. We launch, harness, or meta space, depending on how we work. We have everything cosmetic. Here, we can treat rare hair, skin wounds, warts, facial toning, skin detox, cellulite, weight control. You can also go through a quick program here, or we also have specific programs in the reactivity test. Then, you have the dental. Originally, this was the American standard. We have modified and recreated it to the European and Canadian standard. We can do material testing, dental disorders. We can also work on everything that concerns longevity, everything that concerns periodontia, teeth that are loosening. We can also work on inflammation, infection and degeneration. We also have bruxism. Everything that concerns dental disorders. Alveolitis, bruxism. We can also work on the cranial bones. Then, you have detox. Here, we can do tests on the environment, on toxins and on anything that is a personal stressor. Here, we run each test one by one. Here, we have intestinal toxins, mental toxins and pigs. Then, we move on to the treatments. So, harness, if you're in harness, and meta space, if you're at a distance. Then, you have everything digestive. We can also treat Crohn's disease, colitis, ulcers, diverticula. We tick, reduce inflammation, infection of pain. Here, you have all the stresses, gallstones. Always with the explanation in anatomy in relation to the different organs, which we also find in the reactivity test. We have the dimensional. This concerns more people who are open to past lives. We can do a test, see what needs to be released in terms of stress. Then, we can also work on the dimensional, on the physical, the etheric, the astral. We can work on the 12 dimensions. Then, we have the possibility to treat what concerns the eyes, the ears. There, it's the same. Macular degeneration, cataract, glaucoma, otitis etc. For glaucoma, for example, there is no medical solution, no medication. Here, we can really treat glaucoma. Here, you have the emotional aspect which is fundamental. Here, you have a large number of emotions. We can also treat addictions. All that is anxiety and stress for hyperactive children. We work on learning, concentration, intelligence and logic. Here, you have 49 more emotions. Here, you have 321. In short, we have over 1,000 emotions, and here we have in relation to people. We also have 106 possibilities. As we are transmitters and receivers, each with its own frequency, the person in front of us will not react in the same way. We're going to carry out a test on the ages. The device will tell us the most important stresses since birth, including the uterine period. For people who know kinesiology, in fact, our unconscious is like a hard disk. It's a little bit the same principle. We can also do a test on the muscles. In fact, the LIFE system is like a kinesiology system but much more computerized, much faster. So, 46 years, 9 years, 16 years, 32 years, it's in order of importance. 8 years, 29 years, 41 years, third quarter, and 37 years. It's not just negative stress. Indeed, positive stress is still stress for the body. It's not going to brainwash you, but it will help you to put events into perspective so that you are no longer affected by health problems. Even the birth of a brother or sister also generates emotions. The same goes for moving house, changing schools, meeting someone. Even winning the lottery is nice, but it's still a stress for the body. In fact, it's an accumulation of all these positive and negative stresses experienced by the body that lead to all these health problems. Some cancer doctors are starting to say that you don't die of cancer in 3 months but that it all comes, in fact, from the emotional. Not 90% or 95% but 100%. It's all linked to the emotional. In their departments, some cancer doctors have 25 alternative techniques at their disposal. They don't say that it cures cancer, but they say that it helps to cure cancer. We also have the whole homeopathy part, but when you search by problem, we already have the remedies that are indicated. However, here you can find the right remedy and then you can also enter frequencies. Here, there are already 679 remedies, but we can add more and find the corresponding field treatment. Then we have the hormones. We already did the test earlier. You have iridology. This allows us to see, in the right and left eye, which problems we have already had and which ones we are likely to have. You have the lymph. There, we can clean. In this case, we tick the box, inflammation, infection, pain, and we stimulate the lymph. Here, it will clean up all the viruses, toxins and bacteria. This is where we start the program. During the treatment, the person sees the lymph and emunctory circuit with the ganglions. Then, we have several videos for the muscles, different organs, for everything that is respiratory, blocked sinuses, etc. You can see it directly and have an immediate release. When there are problems of atrophy, we can also treat directly and do 2 special minutes. It will work on all the muscles. But someone who has bladder weakness, for example in anatomy, we'll look for pectineus. Pectineus is the muscle of the perineum. At the same time, we need to look at relaxation, which is the hormone that manages the pelvic muscle ligament. With childbirth or aging, we have with time, relaxations of the bladder, of this muscle which causes small urinary leaks. Then, we have everything that concerns the nerves, nervousness, neuralgia. We have Arnold's nerve. Depending on the problem, we can treat everything related to TMJ, the jaw, the mandible. 2 special minutes also. We can see the entire nerve pathway. Emotional neuro. Here, we can do a quick test to see what has not been resolved because we have a genetic inheritance from our parents and grandparents. It makes you take into account an unresolved conflict. That, we can deal with it, we run the program here. Then, we have RIFE. This is what we did, initially, earlier. You have all the respiratory stuff, emphysema, pneumonia, bronchitis, asthma. We always tick the 4 boxes here. Here, you have the whole list of what is biospecific and everything that concerns the anatomy with the organs. Again, we have the video, while the treatment is being done, where people can visualize their respiratory system. From here, we can treat inflammation, release sinus pressure, headaches, migraines. You always have the specific and anatomical list here. And during the treatment, you have the video which allows you to see the whole system at the level of the sinuses. Here, you have the spine. We could determine the vertebrae. I remind you of the dermatomes. Here, you also have shortcuts to go back to the different programs, if you don't want to go through this program. Here, you have specific chronos. We can add frequencies. Here, you have 1242 frequencies. If it's a stomach problem, you press search, and the device directly sorts out what needs to be controlled and treated. If the person is undergoing chemotherapy, radiation, we can also release, clean and treat the collateral damage that is affecting the body. In this case, the 8 boxes are filled in and ticked. When the COVID-19 appeared, we added the COVID frequencies. Here is an example of treatment for the liver. In COVID, coronavirus, we can put 1 frequency per line. These are frequencies that you are given, which you can add at any time. Here, you can treat the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. We only treat one at a time. You have urination, for everything from cystitis, prostate enlargement, urinary incontinence, erectile dysfunction. Here, you have the whole list for the anatomical renal arteries. And then you have everything about minerals, amino acids, vitamins. We can do a test, vitamins, for example. There, we will see what the deficiencies are. I assume that if you only take vitamin C orally, if you do a checkup, you will see that there are deficiencies. If you look at your urine, 80% goes back into the bowl. The urine is all yellow. There, we can already inform the cells directly. We can do tests, the tray, the view underneath. I assume that all products are good, but not necessarily for a person at a given time. It allows you to put the product on the tray. The box is shielded. There is a cage with a blind, but the plate on top, in stainless steel, is connected to the electronics. There, you can also choose an organ and a nutrient next to it to see if it corresponds. You can do the same thing with minerals, amino acids, and then you launch the harness program. Here, we see that vitamin C is also low. After that, it's always the first 4 and then it's up to you to see what happens next. If someone has hair problems or hair loss, we can also work on biotin and B12. We give you a lot of protocols which are also provided with it. Here, we have more or less covered the programs. We can also do the geopathic stress in order to clean the places. So, it is advisable to do it when you have a lot of people coming through your office. This is to be able to clean the Curie crosses and the mental interference. Now, she's going to give us the 3. The cross and the mental interference. You run the program to clear them. You press release. Now, we've more or less gone through all the programs. We haven't seen the old LIFE system yet. For the last 4 years, we have not had a body balancer. In the 3rd generation of the LIFE system, we have the body balancer which is offered. It is a software package that costs €5,000 but is offered with the LIFE system. Here, you can choose to do the spine, for example, or the whole body. Here, in the head, we can do the brain, the sinus, the jaw. In the neck, we can make the throat, the vocal cords, the torso, the lungs, the heart, the abdomen and the liver, the kidneys, the small intestine. All the systems: circulatory, cardiovascular, respiratory, lymphatic, endocrine, skeletal, nervous. After all, the reproductive system. The regain of energy of the spiral geometry. Here, we will choose from the sounds. Pain can be acute or chronic. Inflammations can be acute or chronic. Injuries can be acute or chronic. We have the frequencies of the pyramids of Giza. We have all the frequencies of solfege which go from 390 to 852 Hz, and then we have all the chakras: crown, forehead, throat, heart, plexus. All this is stored in the program, and when we start, we will see that there are fractals. We have images with videos that indicate which organ we are working on. These are programs that we can keep to measure and that will be stored. If you do a session of 1 hour and a quarter with the person, we can put him or her in relaxation for a quarter of an hour with this program. Every minute, the program will change the organ. If we put the person's photo in the LIFE system, it will appear here. That we can put in the memory. We also have 100 stones. We can do a test. There, it will give us the 3 most appropriate stones for the person in order to send the frequency to all the organs. This is part of the programs. Here, you can add personal affirmations. We'll get to the 97 stones. He has chosen Brazilian jade for us. If we do biosignature, it will pass on all the organs: the ears, the heart, the brain, the kidneys, the bladder, the spinal column, the lungs, everything that is genital organs, the spinal column, the stomach. Then we move on to the next stones. If the person has a particular stone that he or she likes, we can also send the frequency to it. This is on all the organs. But you can also choose a particular organ. You also have a program for animals: dogs, cats, cows, fish, horses, and so on. For animals, with all the classical organ and emotional aspects, it's the same as for us, human beings. There, we can treat specific diseases. There are also veterinarians who are equipped, so you don't have to give too much medicine.
When did you talk about a specific program?
You're talking about a tailor-made reactivity test program? We will be able to do a tailor-made program. For example, if we have problems with spinal tension, there, we can check by arthrosis, see what the percentage is. 7 is therefore to be treated. We're under 40 and it's under 10, so it's something old. It will be treated. If we look at the cervicals, for example, we will go down by pressing the space bar to see each vertebra at the cervical level. When we have selected what we want, we come back to the table, we right-click anywhere in the table. We move slightly with the green bar to see the percentages at the bottom left. Here, I'm coming back to the arthrosis. 7 is less than 40. We're adding it here. We haven't analyzed it. The first cervical is at 15. We add this one, 0.19. We add 0.65. We are within the norm. The fourth cervical, 0.83, we add it. 40, we add. The sixth, 0.41, we're within the norm. And the seventh cervical, 0.29, we're not within the norm. You can put up to 50 or 60 lines. If we treat in metaspace, the machine will be able to run in a loop. We can put in 1 minute, for example, and then it will give us the percentage to be rectified for each line. If you don't delete it, whether it's in 3 days, 3 months or 6 months, you'll always have this table. You can make several specific programs for your clients. The first cervical, he rectified at 99, that's not bad. The second, 0.75. The fourth, 0.93. 58 for the fifth. Now, we're going to be able to do a few more rounds until we have 85 everywhere. If we are in metaspace, we can set the time to 0 and the device will loop. When he finishes his 50th or 60th line, he'll go back to the first one. 85, we're good for the second one too. The first one was 100. The second 94, we're good too. The fourth is already at 93, so that's good. 98.
La
The fifth,
cinquième, 92,
92,
donc c'est bon
that's
aussi.
good too. The seventh, 93. To leave the LIFE system, we go to Navigation. If you want to exit the system completely, press Exit here. If you want to restart on another client, you always have to exit to go from one person to another. I click Exit here, I click Yes to save the data. All this remains in memory. So, we can review the old visits. The machine says, OK, so the database is successful. On the icon, we say, yes, here, we do, continue, here. There, we put our code back. The login, enter. There, we have our client file. We can search by first name or last name. Search, family name, you can go directly to the form. In a future video, I will also explain the part dedicated to the HEB2 or the Tibetan prayer wheel. See you next time. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you for your time.